So I thought a good question to start out with would be to ask you what you're talking to your therapist about right now.
Okay, really just putting me on the spot here.
But for real, I'm excited to jam with you because we've been working together 10
10
months
months,
now?
yeah.
So this is kind of going to be your introduction to the Outbound Squad audience, and what I thought would be cool to dig into is like some of your background story. We have some good client stories to share, and we'll have a little bit of fun.
Okay,
That
I'm
sound cool?
excited.
So I want you to bring us back to 2018, Clara. You're a BDR at ShipBob.
Yeah.
How did you even get into sales? What were you doing before that?
I was working at Nordstrom, and I
Okay.
was leading a sales team.
Okay.
I was the youngest person.
Here in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Chicago on Michigan Ave, the second biggest Nordstrom.
Yeah.
And I was leading a team. Everyone was older than me. I was the ripe age of 23.
Okay.
And I loved selling. I was very competitive. I liked managing people. I learned a lot about personalities, but I hated working retail hours. And I was sick of missing holidays with my
Yeah.
family. And I had a lot of friends who were moving into the tech space around that time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, let me try and move into the tech space as well. So I applied at a lot of different companies, got rejected at some of them, but ShipBob was one that stuck, and I started as an SDR.
So before we talk to that, I think something that's really relatable for a lot of managers is, and I remember when I was a first-time manager, having reps that are older than you.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? You're working in retail. You probably have people 10, 20 years. When I say you're senior, it almost sounds kind of weird, but these people have you have no life experience
Yeah.
at 23. How did you, what was the kind of mental gymnastics? How did you work through that part?
It was really difficult at first.
Yeah.
No one took you seriously.
Yeah.
I was getting asked by my manager to ask the team to do things, and I would go and ask, and people would just look at me, and I'd be like, oh, okay, how do I reinforce, or how do I ask in a different way? And I think the biggest thing for me was I had to build rapport with my team. Couldn't just come in as a young person being like, this is my first job out of college, and you got to listen to me. So it doesn't work that way.
Yep.
So you have to build rapport with them, and part of building rapport is what motivates you. Why are you showing up here every single day? And how can I use that to then encourage you to help support the team and to meet your goals and to do what's necessary for us to run a successful organization?
I want to bookmark that and come back to it, because that's any leader that's watching or listening to this coming into a situation where you're either being promoted and now you're managing people maybe that used to be on the same team as you, or a senior leader coming in and having to create a lot of change in the organization. It's really easy to just come guns blazing, so to speak, and not think about the interpersonal relationship. So let's come back to that.
Okay.
So walk us through your journey. So you're a BDR. Tell me how that role kind of went, and then how do you end up at Outreach? How do you end up as a director of sales at Catalyst? Did you know you wanted to get into leadership again? Kind of walk us through that journey.
I did always know that I wanted to be in leadership, but
Okay.
I knew that I would have to work my way up in the ranks.
Yeah.
And so when I started as a BDR, I'm selling a logistics platform to shop owners that people are running their business out of their garage sometimes.
Yeah.
And this was back in the day where we didn't get lead lists. I was going onto Instagram and Facebook and Google.
These reps today don't know how good they have it. Huh?
No, they don't. And my little fingers hurt so bad from
Yeah.
typing in leads into Salesforce. I would try and get
Yeah.
100 leads a day where other people were getting 40, 50 leads a day. I'm very competitive.
Okay, so I think we should be clear, audience. Okay, you were literally taking leads and hand typing them
Yes,
into
I was.
Salesforce. There was no integration.
There
or
was
anything
nothing.
That,
My little fingers were working overtime as I typed everyone's email and phone
Yeah.
number and first and last name as a lead in Salesforce. And then I would drop them into a cadence, because at the time we were using SalesLoft.
Okay.
So I would drop them into a cadence and I would just start emailing and calling. And I was very money motivated at the time,
Okay.
because working in retail, you don't really make that
You
much
were
money.
overworked and underpaid.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I'm going into tech, and I'm still not getting paid the best. And I was living in Chicago, a big city. So I was like, this is uncapped commission. If I work harder, I'll make more.
Yeah.
So I just 2x'd what was expected of me.
Okay.
And I was the #1 SDR month over month over month. And our team was growing. the company was doing really well, and I moved into an SDR team lead position 4 months after starting. So I knew that if I put a lot of work in up front and did what was needed of me and asked all the questions to be successful, that results would come and then opportunities to grow in my career trajectory would come.
And that's something I've learned about you. Your story doesn't surprise me because you're one of the most proactive people I've ever worked with, where it's like, the thing that I think of, you're like, you've already thought of that and you're adding it to like our one-on-one agenda, right? Yeah. So that doesn't surprise me at all. Did you struggle at all with the cold calling and cold email part of it? Was any of that part hard for you, or did you just fucking crush it? Like you said, you got promoted in 4 months.
Emailing wasn't hard. It was cold calling that was actually hard.
Okay.
Because it's not like you're calling HR directors or sales leaders. You're calling sometimes a stay-at-home mom who
These are like your everyday people.
Yes, and I didn't have any framework around how should I open up a cold call, how should I ask the right questions, and so in the beginning I really struggled with cold calling, so I would over-index on output of emails, and then I would see other people making dials at their desk and booking meetings, and everyone's cheering for them, and I was like, wait, being competitive, I want that.
I want some of that attention.
And I want to get more meetings. So I started asking my manager to review my calls and give me feedback. And he and I would go in a room and we would role play. And then at first I was pretty shy on the phones. I would go sit in a room to make my dials. And then once I felt really confident and I started booking more meetings, I was like, I got this. And I'd go out on the sales floor. And honestly, I wish I would have just gone out on the sales floor to begin with, because you learn so much from everyone else around you and what they're doing and how to make it your own uniqueness in how you go about cold calling. So once I started sitting on the floor, I started finding a lot of success that way.
I think there's something there that's, I don't know if it's quite a lost art, but we're seeing a lot of our clients moving to more hybrid style working situations, which we joked about it the other night with our team, and I was like, I think it'd be kind of cool if we had a couple days in the office and all of you were like, fuck you, Jason.
Like, no, don't get any ideas over there.
But there's something to the learning through osmosis that happens when you're in person that, like, that happened for you, it sounded like, where you were there and you got to experience and see that. And I think it's a good thing for sales organizations to be thinking about right now. I couldn't imagine running an SDR team remotely.
Yeah. Well, especially SDR and AE teams, there's so much about sales that is stressful. Like the highs and the lows, the roller coaster of pipeline and deals. And so if you are in an office with other people and you get to hear what's working for them, but you also get support when you're struggling, it just creates this team culture that's like, we got your back through the highs and the lows.
Got it. So give us the TLDR on outreach and then Catalyst. And I think what's important to maybe notice some of the roles you were in and how quickly things were moving and like your responsibility and that sort of thing.
Well, I do think part of this was luck on my end. When I entered into tech in like 2018, it was when all of these new softwares were coming out to help you do your job a lot easier, and the tech boom was still happening, so companies were having a lot of success. So I feel very grateful that I kind of grew up in that era of sales. But I was at ShipBob and I was in a relationship and he was getting promoted to go to Seattle, and I was like, okay, well, should I go with him? Should I not? And I was like, let me just entertain the idea. And I started applying for AE jobs, even though I was an SDR at the time. I was like, I want to make more money, and I could be an AE. I've been here for like 6-8 months. So I started applying to all these tech companies in Seattle, and Outreach was one of them. And they had just opened up the SMB AE role. There was only 3 AEs that were doing that job, and it was like they had only been in seat for 2 months. And I got an interview with Mark Cosaglow, who was leading sales at Outreach at the time, my boy. And
he introduced us.
Yes, he did. That's how we are sitting here today. And he moved me into the final round, which was I had to fly out to Seattle and do 5 hours of back-to-back interviews.
With Mark?
With 5 different people. Mark was the last one. And he walks in, we interview, and I asked the classic question, do you have any hesitations with hiring me? And he's like, no, you got the job. And I was like, okay, let me just take this leap of faith and move to Seattle and go to this new tech company, which seems to be doing really, really great right now and is a little bit more aligned to the tech space that I want to be in, is like these like, you know, leaders in their category of what they're selling.
Yeah.
And so I moved, and it was really fun. When you can be like a founding AE in a segment or at a company, and you get to not only learn a lot, but you get to help create process and culture and give feedback, I realized that that fed me more than just winning business and like closing deals. So that's really what helped the trajectory of my career. I was with Outreach for a little over 4 years, and I started as an SMBAE, and actually every year, almost to the date, I would get promoted. And so I got promoted to corporate AE, which was the mid-market segment, a year after being at Outreach. And then I moved into a growth AE. So every time the business created a different segment or like tried to do something new from a go-to-market perspective, I always rose my hand, because I was like, as much experience as I can gain, I want to try it. And if I don't like it, I can always go back to what I was doing before. So I moved into a growth AE supporting almost like an AM type of motion. And then Outreach opened up a New York office, and I was like, please, I want to move to New York. It's always been a goal of mine. And so I moved to New York and helped open up the office, and that's when I got promoted to SMB AE manager. So I did that for a year, and I loved management. I knew, like, when I was in that growth AE role at the end of my selling time at Outreach, that I got much more joy in mentoring new AEs that were coming into the company and giving feedback to leadership on what's working and what's not, versus winning business. I still loved to win, but it didn't feed my soul like it used to. And so I really wanted to move into management, and I was very lucky I got to do it at a company where I also sold the product.
Yes. Okay, so I think that brings us to our first kind of meaty topic, if you will, to talk about. And this kind of bleeds into some of your experience at Catalyst as well, so feel free to provide commentary on that. Every sales leader that I talk to, I'm just like quickly scanning through my head on recent conversations. Pipeline is the number one thing everyone's talking about. We just did an exec dinner last night. That was the thing on everyone's mind. Pipeline, it's SDRs aren't sourcing enough of it. AEs, we need them to pick up the slack a little bit. We have account managers that we need to self-source new opportunities within customer accounts. Pipeline is the thing that everyone wants, and everyone seems to be struggling with the fact that they hired account executives under the context, like literally they would tell them in interviews, you're not going to have to do much outbound. Like, Clara, you're good to go. We have SDRs, we get a ton of inbound. And then they have managers that don't know how to do outbound. This is kind of our core thesis around this, is that the teams that we work with, we look at the managers and we look at the fact that, hey, when they were AEs 3, 4, 5, 6+ years ago, they didn't do any outbound because the economy was just booming. And they had SDR support and bloated SDR teams and tons of support there. And you have this, I was going to say recipe, but it's a terrible mixture of things going on, where you have AEs that weren't hired under the expectation they were going to do it. You have managers that don't know how to do it. You have zero reinforcement and enablement happening because the people that are supposed to teach them have never actually done this before. Let's talk about your experience with AE self-sourcing was so big at Outreach. I mean, you guys like publicly talked about it a lot. And I know you have like kind of a first attempt failure story actually with Catalyst. What do we need to know if I'm a leader? Like, how do we get this AE self-sourcing thing right?
There's a lot of components to it, because you just talked about all three of those buckets. The first, like AEs saying you don't have to prospect, and then, one day now you have to prospect. That's change behavior that you have to manage too, and you have to support the cognitive load that goes into it. Managers who don't make cold calls, it's like, how do you expect your team to be successful if you don't even know how to be successful in that? If you aren't even doing what you're asking your team to do, you're not leading by example. Leadership is about leading by example. So that's another component of it. outreach, we had this whole prospecting rigor built out from our VP of sales that came down, and I just kind of plugged into that. So when I moved to Catalyst to run the sales team as the director of sales, we did not have an AE prospecting motion, but the business was asking us to create more pipeline, and we couldn't rely on inbound and SDRs. We had to create a process around AE self-sourcing pipeline. And so I kind of took bits and pieces of what I was doing with my SMB team at Outreach and created this whole outbound prospecting AE rigor. And how I did it was I just publicly announced it to them on a team meeting one day. And I was like, this is coming in 1 month. Like, this is why we are doing this. The business needs to bring in more revenue. We don't have enough pipeline to hit our targets. And you all know the product and the personas really well, and we are going to start asking you to self-source X% of your pipeline.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that inbound is going to stop or SDR support is going to stop. Just means that in a year from now, when you're trying to hit your quota, you can own your destiny a little bit better by controlling the controllables. Yes. And so I publicly announced it, and I talked about it every single week. And what was helpful in that is you give them a little bit of time to sink it in of like, okay, my role and responsibility is changing because the business has changed. This isn't like, you're not doing your job, so now you have to cold call. It's like, this is coming as a business ask, and we all have to adapt and change. It's part of startup life.
Versus I come to an all hands call, and then the CRO is like, yeah, dude, you're going to need to self-source 33% of your pipeline now. And everyone's like, WTF.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to gloss over this. So the first part is the narrative around it.
Yes.
Like, you're preemptively, like, you're preparing everyone for this. You're talking about why the organization needs it. You're talking about what is in it for the rep. Like, did you even go through with like, here's how you stand to gain from a comp plan perspective too? Like, can you give us any kind of details there? Like, how did you go about making sure the reps were individually sold on this idea before talking about the tactics and all that stuff?
I would actually pull up their pipeline in one-on-ones. I would show them, here's your pipeline for Q3, which we're in right now. Here's your number. You're not going to hit. You don't even have enough pipeline to hit that. But here's Q4. Look, you have 1.5x coverage of your actual number that you have to hit. Here's your current win rate. It's at 25%. So even with the pipeline that you have, you aren't... If we close every deal, maybe you'll hit your number, but that's not likely to happen given the win rate. So a way to ease the stress here is to own the destiny of your number by creating pipeline. And so I would kind of look at the math and get them bought into like, oh, okay, shit, yeah, I don't have enough pipeline to hit, and these SDR meetings suck, so let me just like try it myself and let me see if I can get better meetings. They almost were bought in if I showed them, here's your goals. They're kind of unattainable with what's supporting them right now. How can we help ourselves?
So you slap them in the face with this super sobering conversation where you're just showing them the numbers. Like, our OTE is XYZ amount, and that's the type of money I'm assuming that you want to make. Like, you're going to fall way short of your target. And here's what the numbers show. I don't want to gloss over that, because that's, if you're a VP of sales or a CRO, what you should be thinking about is how to properly prepare your managers to have those one-to-one conversations. Because it can't just be something you announce org-wide and expect everyone to adopt. The manager is the one that has the relationship with the rep.
Totally.
They have to have that conversation. And then you work into, at Outbound Squad, we call it sales math. So then there was like an equation, essentially.
Right.
And we've recently helped clients with this too, so if you want to comment on that, feel free. But can you talk about what sales math is and how it's kind of customized maybe, or how a rep could look at that in a way that's where they could understand why they're being asked to self-source and why they're being asked to put in a certain amount of activities, let's say, on a daily basis. Can you provide some commentary on that?
I think as a leader in any facet of frontline or director, VP, if you're just throwing KPIs at your reps and there's no data to back it, they're going to question why you're asking me to make 100 dials a day when before I had to make 0. So you have to start with the bigger picture of here is your number, here's your quota for the quarter, here's your current win rate, here's the amount of percentage pipeline is coming from marketing and SDRs, here's the gap of what's left. Our average deal size is X, so that means in order for you to make up the gap of your current pipeline, given your win rate and your average deal size, you probably need to bring in at least 3 meetings a week that are aligned to those deal sizes. And to bring in those 3 meetings a week, we know that you have to target 10 people at 5 accounts. And in order to target 10 people at 5 accounts, that warrants meetings to be generated. Well, that looks like X amount of emails and X amount of calls. So you work backwards from that bigger picture number to justify why you're asking for the KPIs or the actions to be done.
And the action there for the organization is this should be a calculator that you provide
to
the manager and the rep so that they can be empowered to come up with that number. Because once you get started, every rep should have their own kind of unique sales math.
Yes.
Let's talk about removing friction. So we were just talking about this downstairs. I've always called it eating complexity, where it's like you want to think about what are all of the stuff that you can do as an organization to like take laborious tasks off of the rep's plate so that they can just work on the thing that you actually want them to do, in this case, outbound. So how did you approach removing friction, and maybe talk about some of the more common things that are overlooked that like really get in the way of an account executive who is selling most of the day, that gets in the way of them spending that hour and a half per day on pipe gen?
We just did this with one of our clients, actually, because they have an enterprise veteran sales team. And
they got those old dogs.
And those people, I've been in the industry for 15 years.
What do you think when you go in those situations, by the way?
I kind of like it. I
like it? Okay.
Yeah, I take it as a challenge, because it's like, you have a lot of legacy knowledge of what works for you and in this space, but the sales environment has changed. And that is the one constant, is change, always. And so if you're not seeking opportunities to grow and change yourself in your ways, you're probably not going to have as much success as you could. You'll be successful in your own vein, but you could even be more successful if you're open to new ways of doing things. So that's the first thing. But we were working with this veteran team, and the sales leadership was very nervous about asking them to prospect, because they had not prospected in like 20 years. Some of them had never been SDRs.
It's an interesting situation, right? Where you see leadership they're like scared of their reps.
And I think you're probably scared to ask this of them because maybe one, you don't have the skills to communicate the why behind it or the business need, or two, you haven't done that math to be like, this makes sense. And I know you have these skills to go out and do this. So a big thing is helping them understand the cognitive load that goes into new behaviors that you're asking your reps to do. So an example would be, okay, if we are training your team, which is part of our Outbound Squad training, is AI prompting. And AI prompting gets you a bunch of juicy research in your accounts so that you can then have these golden nuggets of information to use in your emails and your outbounding calls. If we are asking your team, some of them to use AI for the first time, maybe others are using it in their own way, but to do it in a standardized way for everyone to be rowing in the same direction, that takes time. It's not like I come into this training call for an hour, I teach your veteran teams how to prompt and use ChatGPT, and then they're like, awesome, I'm a master in it. You have to do it compounding over time. So what we did with them is, one, we give them resources. We make it super easy. If we're asking you to do something new, I'm going to make it super easy on you. I'm going to build you resources. I'm going to build you templates, sequences, emails, talk tracks, all of the things. Then I'm going to reinforce.
But that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, but we got to hit some revenue targets, right? We have to. We have to take ownership.
That's the excuse I hear a lot. It's a lot of work to do that.
It is a lot of work, but if you're trying to get results, you have to put in a lot of work.
Or hire us to do it.
Or hire us to do it, yes. We will bring the resources to you. All you have to do is train and reinforce. So we would come in and we give them these resources, and then What leaders need to do is they have to be bought into a flywheel of coaching.
Yeah.
And so it's not like you can walk in and say, hey, we need everyone to prospect, and you got to hit 100 dials every single day. You got to, you can't boil the ocean in one day. So you have to take it in chunks. So if we teach your team how to use AI prompting to do research, well, then maybe the following week, they have an hour-long block on their calendar on Monday to set aside time or to remind them to do that actual work that we've trained them on. And so what we did with this company, with these veteran AEs, is we had the training 1 week, and the following week, they would have a block on their calendar for an hour to reinforce and do that training. And managers would go in and inspect. And the way we would do that is if you leverage AI to prompt and do account research, it will then create these really awesome outbound emails. So the reps can go in and send these emails. All they have to do is BCC their managers on the emails, and the managers get it in their inbox. They can edit, they can coach, and they can bring that up in one-on-ones. And then that compounds over time. If we teach you how to do cold calling, well, 1 week we're going to teach. The next week you're going to have an hour block on Tuesday set aside to go whatever research you found, let's go make a dial and see if we can book some meetings.
There's a lot of just habit science incorporated into that. It's like we always like to use fitness and nutrition analogies, and you're basically trying to get people that don't go to the gym, that don't think about what they eat, to start like meal planning, meal prepping?
Meal prepping
yeah,
for the
meal
week?
prepping.
Yeah.
Meal prepping. And then going and waking up at 5:30 in the morning to go do a workout. Like, it doesn't happen overnight like that. But if we were to kind of distill that down into a framework, there's kind of this, show it, teach it aspect that needs to happen. There's a watch it aspect, observe the thing actually happening. And then there's like a coaching aspect after that where you're like giving feedback and that sort of thing. So I think that's super important. With this company that we're working with, the interesting thing was, like, if you think about, like, if we really kind of drill into AI for a second, to use it as an example, can you elaborate on, like, this wasn't just like sign the reps up for ChatGPT and have them start asking ChatGPT questions. Like, can you give us a perspective of the like detail that is needed in the enablement that we do to make it really hands-off for them?
Yeah. We have to understand their business on a very deep level. And so something we do in order to do all of that hard work, that's part of asking the reps to change their behavior, is we get a bunch of collateral, like pretend I'm a new AE at your company and give me everything you would give them in the onboarding process. I'm talking call transcripts of cold calls. I'm talking resources of persona messaging. I'm talking industry specific messaging that you enable them with, any enablement sessions that you've done. Give me all of those resources. And then what I can do from that is I can deeply understand your product, your unique position in the market, and the personas that you sell to. And a big thing in how we build these resources is shifting reps from speaking in product language and into customer language. So being in the seat of their buyers and educating AI of like, here is who I am as a salesperson. Here are my personas and what they care about, their priorities, their challenges, how they're trying to achieve their priorities today without our solution, where they're trying to go from an aspirational state. We educate first, and then we help build prompts of like, here are the triggers of why a company would benefit from our services. Here are some ways to look at this, like here are case studies from our website that we could use in our outbound strategy. So it's a lot of research and deep understanding of the customers that we're helping, and that goes into all the facets of their go-to-market structure.
Yeah, and as an organization, you have to do that for the rep. We're stepping in this case and like helping them with that, but the idea that you can just go in and like, you have to go where AI cannot. AI is not inside of the customer conversations. It's not inside of your customer's head. Like, you have to give it that intel and information and that context in order for it to produce a good result for the rep. I want to talk next about leadership, participation, and reinforcement. So one of the funniest things to do, we had a client that sold a cybersecurity solution. We're working with a bunch of their BDRs. I don't think you were on this call. I think you were on vacation. I was working with the frontline leaders, and they're all complaining about how their reps are not putting certain stuff into action. I was like, okay, I'm just curious, like, who here has made calls in the last couple of weeks with your reps? Raise your hand. No one raised their hand.
Yeah.
And these are BDR leaders too. Like, this is what they're doing all day. And there was this missing element that you had talked about before around leading from the front.
Yeah.
So I think our advice there, and I would love your commentary, is if the thing is that you're looking for your reps to do is not happening, you shouldn't look to your reps first. You should be looking at your managers first.
Yeah.
Let's dig into that a little bit.
Yes. A frontline manager's job, I think, in tech is like one of the hardest jobs.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because they're getting asks from the top and then they're supporting from the bottom, right? And so I think the best thing that you can do as a leader is walk the walk. You can't just talk the talk. You can't just be like, okay, everyone, did you make your dials today, when you haven't done a cold call ever or maybe in 5 years? And we see in our deliveries the frontline leaders that show up to the calls and are in the breakout rooms and are participating and role playing and practicing permission-based openers and reverse pitches. Mm-hmm. Those teams are so much more bought in.
Yep.
So much more bought in. So the best thing that you could do to have a successful team as a frontline leader is do what you're asking your reps to do with them and show them it's okay to fail. Show them it's okay to like stumble over your words if you get an objection that you might not handle. And then also show them what great looks like. Practice and be in the trenches with them. That's the best thing you can do. And I would also say, in addition to that, you have to create your own rigor as a frontline leader of looking in and inspecting what your team is doing, what you are asking your team to do. You have to go inspect their emails on a constant basis. You have to listen to their cold calls and go into the recordings and give them feedback, because then they know, oh, she or he is watching, they're giving me feedback, they're invested in my success, and I can then go implement that.
I think you mentioned something so important, like the psychology oftentimes of the manager, and I get where they're coming from, is I'm not that good at this myself, and what if I mess up in front of my rep? Well, that's one of the best things you could do. My first sales manager, when I was going door-to-door selling house painting services, Barry, what sold me on the idea of door-to-door and like why it wasn't that big of a deal was seeing him get a door slammed in his face and completely brushing it off like it was nothing.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. Okay, it's not that big of a deal, I guess. And he just shrugged it off like it was nothing. We didn't even talk about it.
No.
We laughed about it.
One thing Mark used to do is if he would come into deals with us, I was a seller, Mark would come in as like the executive presence. After those calls, we would all debrief and we would all go around the room and say one thing that we could have done better.
Oh, okay.
Like that type of experience where you're listening to your VP or your CRO be like, oh, I could have positioned this question better. I wish I would have asked that. It's like, oh, I should be thinking about those things. Everyone has these opportunities of growth. Everyone. No one's perfect.
So it's a lot, I don't have kids, so it feels weird to say it's a lot like parenting. So I'm not going to say that. But it's like, dude, just do the thing that you're asking. Like, lead by example.
Yes.
Is a really big thing. So you have to, my old VP of sales called it rubbing shoulders. You got to rub shoulders. You got to get that out there and like do the thing that you're asking them to do. I want to talk a little bit about, there's kind of a couple aspects of this. You said something along the lines of like deliberate time spent coaching.
Yeah.
So this is like a nugget I feel like you shared on a client call one time, and it was something along the lines of you should have metrics that you're holding the managers to from a coaching standpoint. Like these sales engagement platforms will show you how many calls they're listening to. So is that something that you guys had at Outreach when you were there, or Catalyst?
We had this at Catalyst,
okay.
And I was co-leading the sales team at one point with another manager, and I would look at his usage of Gong every single week, because you can see in Gong how many calls people are listening to or reviewing. So I would look at the data, and if he was at 7, I would be like, I'm getting to 14 this week. So definitely you should have data that supports insight inspection into. I'm so competitive. But you should have.
I'm not just going to do a couple more. I'm just going to double.
I'm going to double, maybe triple, whatever it is. And then I don't even think he knew that we had that data
at our it was all in your head. Yeah.
At that disposal. But yeah, you need to check in with your frontline leaders and make sure that you can reinforce. Another thing that my director at Outreach did, which I really appreciated, is she would every week on a Monday be like, okay, you have a team of 6 people, Clara. Who are your 2 people you're focusing on?
I love this one too.
The 2 people would be, one is pipeline and one is deals. So the pipeline person would be a rep who doesn't have enough pipeline to hit their number, or they're struggling with hitting their KPIs and they haven't booked meetings in a long time. And the other, the deal person would be who has a lot of deals that I need to support, or who is maybe losing deals and we need executive presence in those, and I can teach them by riding along with them. And so every Monday I would have to document to my executive team, like, here are my 2 people, here are their focuses, here's what I've inspected, and here's what I'm gonna focus on to help them get better. And I wouldn't switch those reps until I felt confident that they had the skills and the tooling and the resources to be successful in that specific thing we were working on. So sometimes for like 4 weeks in a row, it would be the same rep on pipeline because we're working on cold calls and they didn't feel confident and they needed more process and practice.
So that's another best practice for a director of sales. We always talk about account prioritization, and we think of 80-20 rule. Where can we help reps spend 80% of their, or 20% of their efforts to get the 80% of results that we talk about, right? Are the 20% of accounts. What we don't really talk about is, as a manager, how should you focus your time? Because just like doing outbound, if you spent an equal amount of time on every single account and you just went from top to bottom and you're not cherry picking, there's just not enough time in the day and the week to be able to do that in an effective way. It's the same lesson I learned as a first-time sales. I had really good training as a sales manager, but I reported directly up to the VP, and my VP of sales, Dan, he would literally strategize with me every week who to spend time with and why. And it sounds like the same thing for you, and that's such a great takeaway for a director of sales. Like, cherry pick where you're going to spend the time, where you're going to get the most ROI on your time. So we've talked about the leadership stuff. I want to get into we had some future of outbound stuff that we were going to kind of rattle on. You remember the topics?
Yeah, I want to hear your hot takes on some of the future of outbound.
Yeah, so feel free. Yeah.
We talked a little bit about AI.
Yeah.
In not only how we help support clients in delivery with prompting of AI and ChatGPT.
Yeah.
AI is not only something that I think a lot of reps are using, but it's almost popping up in all of these SaaS companies of like, oh, we're adding agents into our software to help these reps do their job easier. It's a hot topic everywhere. What is your hot take around AI and what the future of sales and outbounding specifically looks like when it comes to AI?
I don't think AI is this thing that's going to save the day for outbound. I really think AI is, dude, if you're not using AI right now and really proficient in it, it's kind of like when the internet was starting to become a thing and you said, oh, I'm not going to really figure that whole social media thing out, or the internet thing, or we're just going to keep dialing through the yellow pages versus looking at a platform to get a list for us. It's absolute table stakes.
Yeah.
So the stuff that we'll go in and do and train on it, I think, is going to be the table stakes stuff that every organization will have to master. You got ChatGPT or whatever AI platform you have you're hiring someone like us to come in and help you with prompting. It's like, dude, if you don't know how to prompt at this point, which the majority of reps don't really know how to prompt, they aren't being taught. So I hear you on that. In a year, you're just going to be so left behind and not even able to really do your job effectively without that. I think the future of AI, though, is really at the org level.
Really? Tell me more.
So the org level is, it's like we experience in tech, this tech bloat. I'm working a deal right now where they have 5 tools that reps use to prioritize accounts.
5.
Yeah, and I was like, you guys, that's the problem, actually. It's not that they don't know how to use these tools, it's the fact that you have fucking 5 tools, okay? It's too many tools. So you get this, tech bloat. With AI, the key here is, how do we not make this another thing that a rep has to have in their tech stack that they have to learn how to use? How can you help them reap the benefits of AI without having to intervene with AI at all? So org level stuff is like, we're in a world right now, we're not too far away from when I log into Salesforce and I see my accounts, all of the stuff we prompt right now around account research, triggers, problems, what we think the value prop is going to be, stuff from their 10Ks that we want to pull in, that's just going to automatically be pulled into every single account. So you're not even going to have to prompt it. And then you know what the sales engagement platform is going to do? They're starting to do a better job of it, and I won't gripe too much or complain about sales engagement platforms right now because I think there's a lot left to be desired. But what they're going to start doing is actually populating a really good email or talk track for you to use.
Yep.
It's going to remove a lot of the guesswork of like who to reach out to, what to say, et cetera. There's pros and cons of that, though. I think we're going to reach a time where the rep becomes very commoditized because the floor just elevates. When everyone has access to this information, that becomes the new norm.
Yeah.
And do we need as many people to sell at that point? I think it's going to really disrupt sales teams. I think it's really going to disrupt the need for SDRs. We're already seeing inbound SDRs being completely replaced.
Yeah.
One of our clients, they sell an e-com solution. Like their outbound SDRs are agents, and they send emails. And if I'm being honest, the emails don't look great, but they book meetings. And it's more cost effective than having an SMB SDR do it. So like it's going to replace jobs.
It already is.
Yeah.
It's here. What's your favorite AI platform to use if you were a rep?
I like ChatGPT. It's got to be, we were joking earlier, it's got to be the advanced version though.
It's got to be 5.0.
Dude, fork up the $20 a month or whatever it is if your company's not paying for it.
Sometimes it creates these beautiful tables for me where it says problem, challenge in company, value, solution of current current software, email to write. I'm like, this is beautiful. This
I
is
think
great.
AI is going to disrupt enablement and ops also.
Yes.
So it's going to do all the work that an ops person would have to do on spreadsheets. Enablement people aren't going to have to create all the personas and do all this other kind of like rep enablement. It's going to create all the material for you.
Do you think that there is this component, a lot of people are scared that AI is coming for their jobs, right?
I don't think that people are actually taking that seriously enough, if I'm being honest.
So do you think in the future people are going to buy from AI or from technology and not from humans? Or do you think that there's this special component of sales where people like to buy from actual people?
Yeah. So that's my other hot take is I don't think that actually people want to buy from people as much as we think. I think they want to buy from really intelligent, smart people that can help educate them on how to de-risk what they're about to buy. We state, there's this stat that Gartner, 53% of B2B buyers experience buyer's regret.
Yeah.
That means they would not buy your solution again if given a choice. That should be like the most alarming thing that you've ever heard. Like over half of your buyers wouldn't rebuy your stuff. That's crazy.
It is.
So what you have to think about is the whole people wanting to buy from people thing. It's like, no, they just want to make the best purchase. So salespeople will have a role in that. I think the mid-market and enterprise rep is not going anywhere. But the strategic person that can offer that guidance, that's the future. I think a lot of the more transactional stuff, people are going to prefer to just buy through a chatbot or, dude, one of our clients, they have an AI like person that you can talk to, like an insurance company, let's say when you call, and a lot of people don't even know that they're talking to an AI agent.
Because it sounds so realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
one of our clients sells that type of software, like conversational AI.
Yeah, it's pretty badass.
It is. Okay, so
I think we have time for one more.
If AI is going to replace some of these jobs, and that might be like, okay, some parts of the historical way of doing outbounding and sales is going to die. What is your hot take around cold calling? Because we all hear cold calling is dead. No one picks up the phone anymore. What do you think about that?
My hot take on cold calling is there is a limited shelf life. It is a ticking time bomb. So I just installed the new iOS on my phone, and part of what I activated was like the AI gatekeeper, essentially. The sobering stats of cold calling are it's around 5%, let's call it give it or take, average connect rate. And the average success rate of a connect into a meeting is 5%. We can help with that 5%, that latter one, and maybe get it to 10 through upskilling and like training and using better talk tracks. Think about the math though. I got to call 20 people to get a pickup, and I have to talk to 20 people to get a meeting. Like most people, and if I'm an AE, I'm not having 20 conversations on cold calls in an entire month.
Right.
The math equation doesn't work for cold calling. So we have short-term solutions We have dialers, which I'm a big fan of dialers, but I don't think that's a long-term solution. That's just going to eat through the data faster. You're more likely to get flagged for spam. There's all kinds of stuff that happens that has really significantly diminishing returns on dialers. There's solutions that will help you cherry pick the phone numbers that are most likely to pick up. Well, guess what happens when everyone starts calling those numbers?
Then those people are saturated with calls.
Exactly, and they're not picking up the phone. So I think we're in an age where in a year or two, leaving an effective voicemail and dealing with the AI gatekeeper, that's going to become the new cold call. 2 years from now, I don't think that many reps are going to be landing meetings live on a call with a prospect. It's too easy to screen calls. They're also cracking down on the do not call list for B2B. Over 75% of America is on the do not call list.
That's an insane stat.
Yeah.
Wow.
So those are my hot takes. I got 3 rapid fire questions for you, and then we got to run.
Okay.
You can only have one tool to do outbound: phone, email, or LinkedIn. What do you choose and why?
Okay, this depends on the buyer.
Okay.
But my space that I've sold into is from a revenue org, so customer success and sales. I would do LinkedIn, but specifically voice notes on LinkedIn.
Okay. You're going to send the annoying voice notes to
Yes,
all of your
I am. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
And they're going to be relevant, and they're going to have value, and they're going to be able to have a human aspect to it because they're hearing my voice.
Yeah. I'll admit the interest level when I get a voice note is extremely high because you're like, what does this voice note say?
And also a lot of people aren't doing it. If all these buyers are inundated with calls and emails, it's like, why wouldn't I try and be unique in a voice note?
Best career could be sales or leadership advice that you've ever gotten.
Do the thing that you don't want to do first on your to-do list, because the most...
Eat the frog, as they say.
Yeah, the most growth happens
What's
there.
that thing for you right now? Meetings with me.
One-on-ones with you. No, it's all of the admin stuff and the prep, the building that goes into it. Some of that is very routine, so I leverage AI for some of it too.
Cool. Last one. What's your most unconventional routine, habit, or anything like that that you feel is like a big building block for your success?
Okay, this is recent. Okay. So I'm a big routine person. Like my morning routine has been locked in for the last 5 years. But something that has really helped me throughout the day is you've probably seen this on my calendar. I take 30 minutes, do not book blocks. And
I didn't know what you were doing during that time.
Well, now you will. Here, let me enlighten you. I go on walks, but specifically weighted vest walks.
Yeah, and how much weight do you usually put on the
Okay, so my vest can do 60 pounds, but I can take like some of the weights out of it. So on the days where I'm really stressed or I have like back-to-back calls and I only have 30 minutes, I will go on a walk with my weighted vest because I'm like, instead of feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders, let me reverse psychology this and let me put the weight of the world on my shoulders. And like when I'm done, I'm like, why was I even stressed in the first place? The endorphins are pumping. I feel better. Maybe I eat a granola bar on the walk so I get some food in. That's my hot take, a weighted vest.
I think it's a pretty good one. I just got into like rucking. I was telling you.
I know, and I was like, what's rucking?
So well, rucking, weighted backpack.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing, but 60 pounds, dude.
That's only some days, Jason. Some days it's like 20. I'm like, today we can just do 20. But some days I'm feeling really empowered. I'm like, I got to get this, these things out of my body, the jitters, the anxiety, whatever it is. So we just throw on the 60-pound weighted vest.
Sweet. It's good jamming with you. For those of you watching, listening, etc., make sure to check out outboundsquad.com. So if you're looking to implement some of the things that we've talked about today with your team, with your reps, etc., outboundsquad.com is the best place to check that out. We've worked with companies like Shopify, Zoom, Gong, etc., all the way down to your startup that's rolling out an SDR motion for the first time. So go check it out, outboundsquad.com.
Come work with us.